Hey, welcome back to Brendan Builds. This is episode 2, where I will be showing you how I built my most recent project, Agent to Notion, which is an API that intelligently adds data to my Notion workspace. If you missed the demo in episode 1, quick recap. Basically what this does is it takes a query about data that I want to add into my Notion workspace, understands which Notion page or database it wants to go, fits to the schema, and then sends it off. Naturally, I did try to use the Notion MCP server, which would kind of recreate this for me. I would typically do that in Cursor. I have this custom MCP mode that ignores my code base, so I could say something like, add a task to my Notion to post episode 2 of Brendan Builds. This is already pretty well guided because it's, in an MCP mode. I'm specifically saying to add it to my Notion as context. After O3 thought, it did this very poorly. It tried to get a block of some name called dummy, and then finally it said, okay, I need the task database ID, that I can figure it out. I can just say something like, no, find the database ID for me. So I can kind of tell it what tools that it needs to use. Let's see how this does. So now after calling the search API, it was able to find the right database and add this task, but it didn't really make any effort to understand the schema of the database or understand the contents of the page. So that led me to create my own agent. My Agent to Notion system runs in 2 steps. First, there's the understanding step. Then there's the actual agentic flow itself. In this first step of understanding, what we need to do is collect context about the individual databases and pages within the Notion workspace to be able to give the right context to the agent itself. So we fetch all the databases and pages that we have access to, and then we run a summarize method. So for databases, what we do is we get the name, the schema, and a few example entries, and then we actually send a prompt to OpenAI to summarize all of those different entries just into a one-sentence kind of one-liner. We do the same thing with pages. To summarize the page, we just get the title of the page and some example content of the page, ask OpenAI to summarize it. Then we kind of aggregate this information together. For databases, we're also putting the schema in the results. For the pages, it's just the title, the summary. And then we return all of that. We're good to go. I actually set this up on my personal building AWS account to run every single day as a cron job. So any new pages that I add, or if I make significant edits to an existing page, it's going to regenerate those summaries and those schemas. So everything about this agent is staying up to date. Now for the second phase, where we need to provide this context to the agent, we take the titles of the databases and the pages and the summaries that we just generated, and we feed these in as structured tool calls to the agent. And the structured tool calls are actually generating Notion API request bodies that are matching the database schema, or in the case of a page, it's just extra page content. Providing these as tools is maybe a little bit unconventional, like a RAG or retrieval augmented generation system might be more standard. Technically, I'm limited to 128 tools, so if my Notion ever explodes, then this will break down, but for me, it works great. I have no issues with performance. It's very fast, actually. It gets everything done in one shot, one query, no external calls to vector databases or anything like that. So I'm very happy with it. And now, finally, to tie it all together, we create this system prompt that says that it's a helpful Notion agent to add data to the user's workspace, choose the appropriate tool, gives the current date as context, which is very important as well for anything that involves the date. We bind these tools to the LLM and create a very, very simple in-graph, sort of flow here, where we just have 2 main nodes, the chat itself, and then the tools that we created dynamically based on the metadata that we scraped in the phase 1 of understanding. And that's pretty much it. I wrapped an API around this that invokes this chain. Then I attached that to these iOS shortcuts, to Alexa skills, my ChatGPT, custom actions, and it works amazing. So very happy with everything. There's a few extra bells and whistles. Like I said, I have it set up to run as a cron every day that's updating the schemas and the summaries. I have a GitHub action that's automatically deploying the web server. There's some security stuff, but yeah, pretty simple overall. If you enjoyed, follow along for more.